Friends, efficiency is not the always criteria for selection of any type of machine. Sometimes the machine which is more efficient, it may be complex for design, or the machine which is having less efficiency, but it may be simple for construction or for design. So that's why in case of turbo machines, the efficiency, though the efficiency is less, but its design is very simple. And the next point is the same, that is the simple in design. Turbo machines are very simple in construction as well as in design, while positive displacement machines are very complex in design. That's why turbo machines are widely preferred all over the world. Now the next point is due to rotary motion in case of turbo machines, the vibration phenomenon which you might be studying in your dynamics of machinery, the vibration part. In that case, the vibration problems for turbo machines are less compared to the reciprocating machines, because in case of reciprocating machines you are having the to and fro motion of the piston, and that too it is unsteady flow. That's why it is not a continuous motion. That's why there is a vibration problems are occurring in case of positive displacement machines. So there is an added advantage in case of turbo machines. And the examples of turbo machines are hydraulic turbines, gas turbines or steam turbines. All these are nothing but the turbo machines. Even compressors, air compressors are nothing but the examples of turbo machines. While the IC engines, as we have discussed, IC engines, reciprocating air compressors, okay, or reciprocating pumps, these are the examples of the positive displacement machines. Okay. Now this is about the difference between positive displacement machines and turbo machines. Now let us move toward the next part, that is the classification of turbo machines. Now, based on different category, we can classify the turbo machines into different types. Okay, so let us see the first part, that is a classification based on the mode of transfer of energy. As we have discussed that the energy transfer phenomenon happens in case of turbo machines. Now depending upon the mode of transfer of energy, it is classified as either power absorbing machine or power producing machine. If it is a power absorbing machine, then the machines coming under this category are pumps, fans, blowers and compressors. While if they are power producing devices, then the machines will be steam turbine, gas turbine or hydraulic turbines, or these are power producing machines. That's why based on transfer of energy, it is power absorbing or power producing machines. Then second classification is based on working medium. The working medium is nothing but the fluid which is flowing through the turbo machine, whether it is liquid or whether it is gas. If it is liquid, in general liquid we are using water as a fluid. If it is liquid, then it is named as a pump or it is named as a hydraulic turbine in case of turbines. While if it is gas or air, then it is named as a steam turbine, which is in gaseous phase, gas turbine, or compressors, which is handling air most of the times, blower and fans. Okay, so this is based on the working medium, the classification. Next, based on the type of flow. Which type of flow is there? So it is again similar to the last one, that is whether the flow is incompressible flow or compressible flow. If the fluid is liquid whose density is constant, then the flow is incompressible flow, and if it is gas, then it is a compressible flow. So you can again classify the turbo machines based on the type of flow. Then next classification is based on the direction of the flow. Now irrespective of the medium of the flow, turbo machines can also be classified based on the direction of the fluid flow. Okay, whether the fluid is flowing in the axial direction, that is along the axis of the shaft, or whether it is flowing in the radial direction, that is the radial direction to the shaft in radial direction, or whether it is flowing partially axial and partially radial, that is called as a mixed type of flow. So based on this direction of flow, the turbo machines are classified as axial, radial and mixed type of flow. So in applications in hydraulic turbines, we are going to see all these classification in detail based on the direction of the flow. Basically it is axial flow or radial flow or mixed flow. Let us see some of the examples of this axial, radial and mixed flow. In axial flow machines, if you say, then there is a compressor. Okay, that is all types of compressors use are having the axial, generally use are having the axial flow. Not all types, but you can say the axial flow compressors are used in turbojet engines or in aeroplanes. Okay, radial flow compressors are also there, but axial flow compressors are used in turbojet engines, while they are also used in fans. The flow in fan is a axial flow. Then Kaplan turbine, it is a famous type of application in case of turbine, that is hydraulic turbine. Kaplan turbine is an axial type of turbine. Similarly, the steam turbines, most of the steam turbines, the flow is axial flow only in case of steam turbines. So this in this, if you see in the figure, then there is an axial flow. The flow of this steam takes place in axial direction, or the flow of the fluid takes place in axis, along the axis of the shaft. That's why it is named as axial flow machine. Similarly, this is a Kaplan turbine. This is an example of the hydraulic turbine. In Kaplan turbine, if you see, this is a casing. Okay, the water is coming in this casing, then it is coming from this casing to the shaft, or you can say to the adjustable impeller vanes, okay, which are attached to the shaft. But if you see, this is a shaft. In this shaft, which is a vertical shaft, that's why the fluid takes turn in 90 degree to cope up or to have the direction of as that of the shaft. That's why it is called as an axial flow type of hydraulic turbine, that is a Kaplan turbine. While if you see the radial flow machines, in case of radial flow machines, the flow takes place along the radial direction to that of the shaft. So this is the axis of the shaft and the flow is in radial direction. So that is called as a radial flow machines. So the most of the machines are also radial type of turbines. But nowadays we are using mixed type of flow, that is nothing but partial radial and partially axial. So that is called the Francis turbine. So if you see, now this is the example of the radial flow, purely radial flow, that is nothing but centrifugal pump. In case of centrifugal pump, it is a cut section of a centrifugal pump. In this, if you have seen the centrifugal pump, then the entry will be axial to the pump. Okay, so this is the shaft, so flow takes place in axial direction, and once it enters into the impeller, then the complete flow takes place in radial direction. So inside the impeller, the flow is completely radial. So that's why it is coming under the radial flow machines. While in mixed flow machines, you are having partially radial and partially axial. So here the flow is initially axial as shown in the figure. Okay, in case of Francis turbine, if you see, then the flow is partially axial and partially radial. So that's why it is a mixed type of flow. So that is mainly used nowadays, which is called as a Francis turbine. Now the most important part of the turbo machine is nothing but, as we have discussed, the basic equation of energy transfer in rotodynamic machines. Energy transfer in rotodynamic machines or turbo machines, as we see, it is taking place in case of the fluid to the machine transfer phenomenon. Now if you see in this figure, this is the shaft of the machine, that is turbo machine, and this is a rotary device, okay, which is mounted on the machine, and this is a point 1 along the radial you can say point on the rotary device, and this is a point 2 which is again on the radius of the rotary part. And at point 1, if you see, the fluid which is entering to this rotary device, that is having the velocity v1, that is the absolute velocity is v1 for point 1, and for point 2 the absolute velocity is v2. These absolute velocities are nothing but, they are formed, or they are nothing but the resultant of the components which are along the axial, radial and tangential direction of the shaft. So if you see the velocity which is v1 coming to the point 1, which is the absolute velocity, it can be it can be divided into three components. That is nothing but one component of velocity along axial direction, that is called as a VA1. One component along the radial direction, that is VF1, radial direction to the shaft, and one component along the tangential direction to the shaft, that is VW1. Okay, so it is the tangent to the shaft. And for point 2 also you can say the VA2, that is the axial direction, in the direction of the axis of the shaft. VF2, that is in the radial direction, which is in the radial direction to the shaft, and VW2, which is the tangential direction to the shaft, which is nothing but tangent to the radial direction, that is nothing but your VW2. So these three components combinedly form the absolute velocity V2. So if you say V2 will be nothing but square root of VA2 square plus VF2 square plus VW2 square, and V1 will be nothing but VA1 and square root of VA1 square plus VF1 square plus VW1 square. So this is nothing but general overview of the velocities in case of the rotodynamic machines or turbo machines. Now next, as we have discussed, the impulse momentum principle or the Newton's second law of motion is nothing but the basic governing equation which is used in case of turbo machines. Now we are going to apply that Newton's second law of motion for this turbo machine only. So as seen in this diagram only, as we know, Newton's second law of motion is defined as, or it is its statement is, the rate of change of momentum of a fluid is nothing but the force exerted on the fluid. Okay, so that is nothing but the Newton's second law of motion as we have studied. So if we see in the diagram, from the diagram, the only component which is responsible for the device to rotate, that is the angular velocity omega, okay, which is of useful for us, okay, for rotating the device for rotodynamic machines. So that is nothing but the tangential component of the velocity, which is there responsible for rotation of the device. Okay, while other velocities, that is VA1 and VA2, and similarly VF1 and VF2, okay, these are also producing some sort of force. Okay, so rate of change of momentum in axial direction, okay, will produce axial force. Rate of change of momentum in radial direction will produce radial force. Rate of change of momentum in tangential direction will produce tangential force, as per the definition of Newton's second law of motion. So in our case, which force we are going to consider? So that we are going to see now. So if we say the tangential component of the force is only of importance for us, because the radial component as well as axial component are not of any use for us. They will produce the force. In case of axial momentum, it will produce axial thrust, okay, that will cause the motion of the shaft in axial direction. In case of radial momentum, it will produce a radial load on the shaft. Both are of no use. Okay, so for preventing the axial force, we are providing the bearing, thrust bearing on the shaft, and for preventing the radial load, we are having some journal type of, or you can say some radial type of bearings. Okay, so they are taking care of that forces. Okay, so they are of no use for us, but only useful momentum, the resultant momentum, is nothing but the tangential momentum, and we are going to see the tangential momentum, or you can say the tangential force only, which is calculated by rate of change of momentum in the tangential direction, or it is nothing but the momentum caused in the tangential direction, that is nothing but VW1 and VW2. Because of that velocities, whatever is the resultant momentum, that is of use for us, and which will produce a force in tangential direction. So that we will see in the next lecture. Okay, thank you.